Landowner benefits and law and order dominate question time. Catholic bishops appeal to government. And Madang province to crack down on fake products.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. This is Wednesday's news. Thank you for joining us. Opposition leader Patrick Pruach has raised concerns on the current situation in Hela province involving landowner benefits and the operations and security of the PNG LNG project. In a series of questions directed to Treasurer and Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel, Mr. Pruach asked the government to give assurances that all matters regarding the project and landowners will be resolved promptly.
The opposition leader asked the government to come clear on its stance in solving issues surrounding the LNG project. He says law and order problems are on the rise in Hela as a result of non-payment of landowner benefits.
As you are aware, the benefits of the LNG project have been distributed to equity participants, including PNG government, through Kumul Petroleum. However, for some reasons, the national government, the last government, and this government have not passed on those benefits to the landowners.
In the last few days, frustrated landowners have threatened to shut down the Angore gas field and the main Heights conditioning plant because of an outstanding payment of 35 million kina that was supposed to be given to them last year.
Can the Deputy Prime Minister assure the country, particularly the landowners, that they will receive the benefits? More so, the 35 million kina that was given in the form of a dummy check and promised to be paid the following week, but it has taken them a year to receive that 35 million kina benefit.
Responding on behalf of the Prime Minister, Deputy PM Charles Abel said the government is concerned at the issue at hand and says they are committed in making sure landowners are given their share of benefits. He made mention of the clan vetting process, which is an ongoing issue in identifying landowners.
Reactivate that process of clan vetting. In the last couple of weeks, it's been thwarted again by intervention from the courts around previous decisions made. So these issues continue, but I emphasize the point that it largely relates back to the fact that we've not resolved those issues properly in the first instance. But I want to emphasize that the government remains completely and absolutely committed to the process of satisfying the benefits that we committed to the landowners.
He also said the government is considering sending in additional security personnel to the plant site.
And only yesterday, Prime Minister has given some directives around additional reinforcements for security up there. It's not that we want to create confrontations and issues again with the landowners, but we must fulfill some minimum obligations to our good investor up there in terms of security around the site. And so we'll be taking some measures immediately through our police minister and possibly even through our defense minister.
Stanley Oved Jr., National EMTV News.
Police Minister Jelta Wong was asked today in Parliament if he is considering a move to bring back the Enhanced Cooperation Program, or ECP, that was introduced by former Police Minister Mbire Kimisopa. The question was raised by Enga Governor Sepita Ipatas over the increase in law and order problems around the country, which the Governor says the police are not performing their duties.
Se Ipatas talked on security issues surrounding the PNG LNG project and even touched on recent sorcery-related killings and incidents.
Whilst we may have differing opinions on this floor, I would like to suggest that the police have, over the years, become incompetent and are not delivering.
The Enga Governor told Parliament the country is facing an increase in law and order problems.
This government needs to be serious about law and order. We have a situation up in Agora. We have a situation everywhere that people are now deciding to take the law into their own hands.
And he suggested revisiting the Enhanced Cooperation Program, or ECP, where PNG would look to Australia for assistance in providing manpower and funding.
Are you willing as minister to take an agenda up to Cabinet to revisit the ECP arrangement that former Minister, Honorable Biri Kimasoba, had insofar as the Australians coming to this country to help us. We are now at a crossroads. We either deal with the law and order situation now or never.
However, for the Madang governor, he says the police needs to sort out its own issues rather than relying on other countries. He says one contributing factor to officers not performing is because they are stationed at a certain province for too long.
Under the Police Force Interim Arrangement Act, a policeman cannot stay in one place for more than 2 years. Now, this is the issue we're talking about police. Not getting Australian police to come and solve the problem here. Not other policemen to come and solve the problem. We have a problem in our own police force.
In response, Minister Wong says the government is committed to fixing the constabulary, which is one of its priorities under the Alatawa Court too.
We are looking at fixing many things, many mistakes that the past has brought to us. So we are working on it.
Stanley Over Jr., National MTV News.
In other Parliament stories, Madang MP Brian Kramer has asked Prime Minister Peter O'Neill if he is willing to step down after the MP said he has evidence of fraud against former MP Nixon Duban that has connections to the Prime Minister. Mr. Kramer said the evidence he has includes audio recordings of the Prime Minister giving authorization to release funds under the Gaming Control Board to fund a project in 2012, which Kramer said was a fraudulent deal. In response, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said the evidence should be presented to police for immediate action.
In the presentation of a cheque that was procured by the Prime Minister, I think the court expressed the view that the presentation of the Gaming Board cheque was personally secured by the Prime Minister, who had personal relationship to the accused, was an act of fraud. I also have, Mr. Speaker, an audio recording in relation to comments made by the Prime Minister giving knowledge and authority of the presentation of that cheque. So my question to the Prime Minister, who do we present this evidence so that he may honor his word and resign? Thank you.
Those support churches, schools, and other non-government organizations in delivering the services that we cannot. So I do authorize those transactions from time to time. If there is a fraud where the former member is, of course, misused the money for himself or is people that have misused the money, he should go to the police. Simply go and charge him, arrest him. What do you want me to do? I don't have the power to go around arresting people. You have evidence, go to the police.
The Papua New Guinea Catholic Bishops' Conference is now calling on the government to look into the needs of refugees still living in Lombrum and provide some form of support to them, as they are human beings in dire need of essential supplies for survival. There is little to no food supply, and refugees are living on water from 2-meter dug wells that are quite salty but drinkable. CBC General Secretary Father Victor Roche is appealing to the governments of Papua New Guinea and Australia to hear the plight of the refugees and grant their wishes. Father Victor just arrived from a 3-day visit to Manus and witnessed the refugees' unfit living conditions and says we must have compassion and provide for others who are in need.
I call upon the government of Papua New Guinea to come up with some proper ways of helping these people with water, food and electricity. This is the short term. The long term is that the Papua New Guinea government should dialogue with the government of New Zealand, because they have offered that they are ready to take some refugees in their country. So the Papua New Guinea government can directly dialogue with the government of New Zealand and take some. I also call upon the government of Australia. It is the moral responsibility of the government of Australia to give a proper place for them to stay. They have feelings, they have human needs. It is this time that we have to help.
Meanwhile, Father Victor has condemned the government's response on the brutal attack of a 6-year-old girl accused of sorcery. He described the act as immoral and animalistic. He said, according to evidential reports from around the country, the belief of Sanguma is part of PNG culture, and called on the churches to carry out more awareness about this moral evil that should not be practiced.
Internet world. We are in the modern world, we are well educated and we have so many facilities all around us, and still we can go to something that is cultural, that's far away from being Christian. That this is not a Christian value. So we have to stop. So I call upon all the churches that we should do more awareness in our communities, in our congregations, and also we have to preach more about the Bible teachings on sorcery.
The people of Southern Highlands Province still insist there is no legitimate provincial governor. Representatives from an aggrieved party told MTV News today that they will not allow the opening of Agiru Centre, which is the provincial government building, unless a common understanding is reached. Vasinatayama files this report.
The aggrieved party are mostly landowners from Mendi Town, youths in Southern Highlands and the 24 regional candidates. They said they will not open Agiru Centre for any meetings to be conducted unless the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, Governor William Powie and the other 4 open MPs are on the ground to reopen the building. They say they will not listen to the new Provincial Police Commander Joseph Tondop or the acting Provincial Administrator Thomas Elu to return the keys to the building.
All 24 candidates, na William Powie, all come down lo Southern Highlands, at quarter of lo Southern Highlands lo Mendi, na almost all clear. Mibla one bell. Na Mibla like him 7-story must open. Public servants must resume normal duties below. Southern Highlands must go back to normal. From there, everything will go back to normal.
Mendi Town landowners and the youths said they wanted to see the elected members on the ground to open the building to give them some confidence. They said they won't allow their elected MPs to be in Port Moresby and give directions.
Two must involve him or leaders from Mendi Town. Mibla got all Papa ground staff. Colonel Robert Posu, Stan Pubia, all money staff. We addressing all this issue. Bring all parties together. Na peace, no more Siba administration open.
The Southern Highlands people also questioned the appointment of the acting provincial administrator, Mr. Elu. They questioned whether he was appointed to run the province or investigate the provincial government's account since he has a police background. They also warned PPC Tondop not to talk about the reopening of Agiru Centre, but restore law and order in the province.
They have to come and explain. The Prime Minister and everybody have to come and explain. Now yet one namelman like Gona. Open him 7-story na to PEC meeting na kain olsen. MJ Sawa fire and light is tablon you captured in petrol gone up now.
Last Friday, Chief Secretary Isaac Lupari, Mr. Elu and PPC Tondop addressed the Southern Highlands people to discuss the reopening of Agiru Centre, which was closed during the 2017 national elections. Mr. Elu told the youths that he needed the key to occupy his office so that he can clean up the election mess and for work to begin. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
Here with National MTV News, among stories after the break, the agriculture sector told to adopt a private sector culture to be fruitful. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. Western Highlands Province is leading in implementing the National Health Department's plan to build 4 community health posts in 8 project provinces in the country. Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority recently opened the 3rd community health post in the Mulbai area. The project cost the health department and its partners 3.5 million kina.
Sanup Community Health Post is the 3rd to be opened in Western Highlands. The project is funded by the Australian government through Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, World Health Organization, UNICEF, JICA, ADB, Health Department and the national government. Its main focus is to reduce the high maternal mortality rate in PNG and to ensure communities have access to proper health care services.
Basic health service. So suppose mama you like karem, you must give me a place block karem.
The 8 project provinces to receive 4 CHPs each are Milne Bay, West Sepik, West New Britain, Morobe, the autonomous region of Bougainville, Enga, Eastern Highlands and Western Highlands Province. The Australian High Commissioner to PNG, Bruce Davies, told the people of Mulbayalumusa that Australia and its partners will still continue to roll out this program of establishing 4 CHPs each in the 8 project provinces. The Australian government has provided a 182 million kina towards this project throughout the country.
At the moment, for Western Province, we're providing 38 scholarships for men and women to train in areas like midwifery, in nursing and in community development, community services.
Like the other 2 community health posts in the province, Sanup has a mini world-class standard health post building, 3 staff houses, patients ablution block, a world-class incinerator, fencing and is solar-powered. Mulbayalumusa MP Koi Trape, who was also present at the gathering, urged his people to look after the properties for their own benefits.
So that is why people got housing stuff. You must look at them body blow, you must stop close to one time doctor blow, you must look at them all.
More than 10,000 people at Baya River will now have access to basic healthcare services from the Sanup Community Health Post. Those who attended the ceremony were donor partners, Western Highlands Health Authority and the locals. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The agriculture sector should take on a private sector culture to be successful in the coming years. That, according to National Planning Minister Richard Maru. Speaking at the final day of the inaugural National Agriculture Summit, Minister Maru emphasized the need for a culture change within the agriculture sector, more particularly from the public sector players within agriculture. This morning saw the public sector take center stage at the final day of the inaugural National Agriculture Summit. National Planning Minister Richard Maru addressed the participants on the topic of national development plans and strategies. Whilst acknowledging the importance of the agriculture sector, Minister Maru also called on the sector to have a change of how they interacted within the industry. He called on public sector actors within agriculture to adopt private sector practices, especially in regards to transparency, accountability and work ethics.
If you don't have the money to fund free education, you cannot fund free education. If the pest doesn't grow, you don't fund. You can't fund free health. So there will not be free handouts to cooperatives anymore. They will have to come to the bank and borrow like everybody else. But we support the model.
While re-emphasizing the high priority on agriculture by the government, Minister Maru also called for commodity boards to improve on auditing funding provided by government.
I'm not so sure about being wise in agriculture. We squandered a lot of money in agriculture and got no results. We haven't been wise.
Minister Maru's sentiments also echoed by Agriculture Vice Minister Henry Ame and Agriculture Secretary Dr. Velepat Ilava.
The 2 of the most vital platforms for future prosperity for PNG are 1. Modernization of customary land for economic development. And 2. Reducing law and order problem.
We are hopeful that we will conclude all this and compile all this in a communique that will provide a framework moving forward.
And there are plans by the national government to stimulate further investment within agriculture. National Planning Minister Richard Maru, speaking at the final day of the inaugural National Agriculture Summit, hinted at an intervention by the government, the creation of a state equity fund. He said the fund would be set up for a few main reasons.
We are going to shortly have a state investment vehicle. Where we think it's a high-risk place, where we think private sector needed to be given comfort and security, we will be the lead partner in that investment. The investor above beginning. As an equity partner, no one is going to know. We are not the experts in agriculture. We'll put equity, we'll provide police stations, we'll make sure there's a road there, we'll support you until the business takes off, it is profitable, and then we can offload it to other public investors to buy out the government interest.
In a small handover ceremony today at the Boroko Police Station, outgoing NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Benjamin Turi officially handed over the position to Chief Superintendent Pero Odrano. Metsup Drano took up the posting on Monday. Drano said his aim is to regain public confidence in the NCD police service.
As per directive of Police Commissioner Gary Baki last month after a reshuffle, Metropolitan Superintendent Peru Andrano was officially handed the position by the outgoing MedSup, Benjamin Turi. He says his strategy is to gain public confidence in NCD police services.
I'm taking the responsibility and I'll do my best as the new MedSup to serve the best interests of the people of NCD.
His plan of action will see the NCD beat unit disbanded to complement other NCD police units that are currently under training. He also plans to keep all NCD police members to wear proper uniforms as part of his action plan to improve the image of police. Andrano took office 2 days ago and is confident of performing on what he has been tasked to do, and his strategy, as outlined, will be discussed with the 3 superintendents for operations, administration and crime investigation before being carried out.
Improving relationships amongst our own members in NCD, all the team units in NCD police, as well as relationship with support units that come to assist us, as well as create a good public police partnership to assist us in achieving our endeavors.
Stacey Yallo, National MTV News.
The Madang Urban Local Level Government, or MULLG, inspects shops and restaurants in Madang to assess health and hygiene practices as per the Food and Sanitation Act. Town Manager Philip Posanau says for counterfeit products, other government agencies like PNG Customs will need to advise them that these products are not genuine. Posanau explains that the Madang Urban LLG will work with concerned government departments in a combined effort to get fake products off the shelves of stores.
Madang Town Manager Philip Posanau says the Madang Urban Local Level Government is only looking at health and hygiene as per the Food Sanitation Act. Posanau says though MULLG by law have the power to remove counterfeit products from shelves, they will need to work with government agencies to identify those fake products and get them off the shelves.
Those counterfeited products, because there are certain agencies that do allow them to come. We only come in when the agency work with us that this product is not good, then we'll come in with them and we all work together as a team to remove them. Mainly in our area, we look at food. That's where we are in power under that law.
A task force team comprising the MULLG, PNG Customs, Nakia, police and other government departments was formed to address the issue with shops selling counterfeit products. The team will have their first meeting on Friday and will start carrying out inspections on the 11th of December.
That we will go together as a team and then address those issues.
Earlier last month, PNG Customs officials destroyed more than 30,000 kina worth of counterfeit products that were confiscated. These counterfeit products were confiscated from various shops owned by Asian businessmen. The products include air cream, coconut oil and hair relaxer kits. Martha Louise, National MTV News, Madang.
Lay police can now be contacted through the popular social media medium, the WhatsApp application. The police toll-free number is now linked to WhatsApp and will allow smartphone users in the city to file complaints using this medium.
More than 50 calls are attended to daily in this operations room at the Lay Central Police Station since the inception of the toll-free number. Lay's media team were invited to see how officers respond to complaints through this service. Whilst on location, police received a call about an attempted robbery. The report was relayed and a sector response unit was dispatched to the scene within minutes. In addition to the toll-free service, Lay police can now be contacted through WhatsApp using the toll-free number.
We've been finding ways and means to make our interaction with the public more accessible, and this is one of the means because
WhatsApp is very popular in this country.
Smartphone users can file complaints through this medium and also provide pictures and videos to police.
With a photo, we will go straight and pick that person up.
It will be officially launched tomorrow.
Anybody who sends us information, those numbers will be kept confidential.
The capacity of the sector response unit was also increased, with 8 units now patrolling 4 zones of the city. This will improve police response to crimes in the city. Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
Early Childhood Development Advocacy and Awareness Meeting focused on caring for a child since conception to the age of 3. According to specialist Dr. Michael Simon of the Economic Policy Institute in America, the period between conception and the age of 3 of a child is very crucial in terms of brain development. And he says it is this stage which PNG and other Pacific Island nations need to focus on in terms of development to the future.
Capital is a concept that represents knowledge as a scarce resource that can be traded with money, social influence, and political power. It is recognized as the key asset of institutions and economic organizations. Dr. Michael Sampson, Director of Research at the Economic Policy Research Institute at USA, says the concept of cognitive capital in early childhood development is very important for Papua New Guinea.
Cognitive capital, that flows over fiber optic cables. It doesn't have to go on a ship or an airplane. An island economy is as competitive when it's driven by cognitive capital as is the Indian economy or the Chinese economy or any of the economies in the richest countries of the world. So cognitive capital is an asset that's just appropriate for a country like Papua New Guinea.
Dr. Sampson has 33 years of experience working in social protection and specializes in designing, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating social protection programs and policies on early childhood investments. His project experience in these areas includes work in 44 countries in Africa, Latin America, Asia, and the Pacific, as well as many related publications. The meeting saw presentations by like-minded individuals on early childhood development from organizations such as UNICEF, Education Department, JICA, Health Department, and the Department of Community Development.
The head of the Office of the Children, I'm also proud that the government has set the stage to take on this concept, the cognitive asset approach of working at the early age level, from pregnancy to year 3. That is the very important area when we need to have our children protected, that they get what they hear and what they do. And Lokot in Peking also talk about, the Act also talk about the parental responsibility and the community responsibility to an environment. So the cognitive approach also is the very strongest. I think the doctor is bringing a very strong message to us as parents.
Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3115 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.304, $0.3975 Australian dollars, $0.2553 euro, and 33.84 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee and cocoa closed higher, while copra closed the day unchanged. Crude oil is trading higher, palm oil and copper closed the day higher as well. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 160 points higher, the ASX 33 points higher, and the All Ordinaries 32 points higher. Here with Wednesday's news, more local stories and news making headlines overseas when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, after 37 years in power, Robert Mugabe's time as president of Zimbabwe is finally over. He officially stood down this morning. Thousands of people celebrated in the streets of the Zimbabwean capital, Harare.
The night of the free, a night like no other in their lives. A great tension has broken. The epoch of fear, of desperation, of Robert Mugabe has ended.
This is history in the making. We have never thought that something like this was going to happen.
happened in Zimbabwe. This is history, you guys.
This is what we've been fighting for since independence.
The sense of surprise here is deep, because at the day's beginning, it didn't feel as if Robert Mugabe was going anywhere. Parliamentarians, urged on by the crowds, gathered to begin the process of impeaching the president. After a week in which he'd stubbornly refused to quit, his own MPs led the legal process.
Will he be gone by the end of the week? I'm not sure. I really can't say. Look, the processes of Parliament will determine whether or not he'll be gone by the end of the week. If it were my choice, I would have wanted him to go yesterday.
By mid-afternoon, the MPs and senators had moved to a hotel to accommodate the special joint session of Parliament. They were watched by the public in what felt like a rare moment of true democracy here. And then, the moment. A letter was handed to the Speaker. He read it first himself, and then to the world. He was muffled, but the words were momentous.
Notice of resignation.
Many who a week ago would have cheered Robert Mugabe now exulted in his fall. A week ago, most foreign journalists were banned here. Today, MPs were eager to speak with me.
This is a huge moment for your country. What do you feel?
Absolutely. This is a revelation that the people, if they speak their mind, if they speak their hearts out, change will come.
Celebrations spilled into the streets. They cheered Emerson Mnangagwa and mocked Robert Mugabe. But in their joy, Zimbabweans also know that they must be vigilant.
We cannot make the mistake of having the same kind of leaders in place to build our country. We can't afford that.
Remember the longer road to this moment, the people who endured white minority rule and then saw their independence become tyranny, found themselves suddenly free.
Mugabe is the only leader Zimbabwe has known since it gained independence in 1980. His part in achieving that won him the status of a hero in the anti-colonial struggle. But during his 37-year reign, he presided over the economic collapse and was seen as a tyrant.
Mugabe had grown up in a world of white privilege and British colonial rule. As a young man, he joined the liberation struggle, spending 10 years in jail, then joining his guerrillas in the bush. When independence finally came in 1980, Mugabe quickly took control. There were early signs of trouble. His political rivals silenced, thousands killed by the military and massacres in the south of the country. But Zimbabwe prospered and seemed well run, its population well educated. Until in the late 1990s, economic shocks and growing political opposition prompted Mugabe to lash out. His supporters seized white-owned farms. To stay in power, Mugabe's ZANU-PF party began rigging elections and terrorizing its opponents. Western sanctions followed, then hyperinflation, the currency collapsing in spectacular fashion. And then came Grace. An aging Mugabe remarried, but it was when she began to show political ambition that things changed dramatically. With political tensions rising, it was the prospect of President Grace that helped force the general's hand last week when they seized power in a coup d'etat. Today we went in search of more clues. Outside Harare, one of her huge mansions. We weren't allowed in, but nearby we got a taste of why she's so despised here.
Yeah, they came here and started demolishing my house all over, and they pulled down my house. They said you must go away just because this place has been taken by the first lady.
By the First Lady, by Grace Mugabe?
Yes.
Here, the law meant nothing to the first family. They were emperors. Mugabe was so long in power, he behaved as if Zimbabwe belonged to him, to his family. Today, at long last, a man who could have left office an African icon was forced out. His humiliation complete.
Here with Wednesday's news, we have an update on the 7th PNG Games from our team in Kimbe. So don't go away. That is coming up in Trukai Sports after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Chief Executive Officer of the PNG Sports Foundation, Peter Chiamalili Jr., is happy with the progress of the 7th PNG Games in Kimbe. Mr. Chiamalili says despite the slow start, better dialogue between technical officials, team managers and athletes are seeing the games progressing. He says organizers are positive to deliver the game successfully.
Speaking to EMTV News this morning, Mr. Chiamalili is confident the games will be completed on time. The CEO of the PNG Games Foundation says constant dialogue between different stakeholders is the key to see a smooth flow of the games in Kimbe.
Again, started off with a lot of anticipation of making sure day 3 is better than day 2 and day 1, and it has been a good experience for everyone. There's been a lot of collaboration between the technical officials and the host organizing committee.
Earlier this week, the Games had difficulties in some of its venues, including water supply hiccups and late arrival of technical officers. However, yesterday saw more improvement with many of the coaches kicking off the matches. Mr. Chiamalili says the Games will progress positively towards the end of the week. He says some teams still have their athletes traveling and organizers are finalizing participating teams.
For our brothers and sisters who are coming into the province to participate. And so the schedules may change a little bit. However, by the end of the 3rd day, we'll be able to put a really pinpoint on the time schedules and the locations of where the events are going to be held.
Bodybuilding is the first code to complete its 10. 12 categories were completed with the first medal presentations of the games done yesterday. Jack Lapava Jr. National, EMTV News, Kimbe.
High Performance Sports PNG has embarked on the 7th PNG Games to use as an avenue to identify possible talented athletes for future events. The group is slowly gaining popularity but has so far played an important role in exposing raw talent in the country. High Performance Manager Cornelius Papau say they want to assist provincial teams draw out talent while with elite sporting abilities.
The PNG Games is an event that brings together people from all over the country. It brings together a large multitude of people from different cultures and different traditions. But it is also an event that brings together highly competitive athletes from each provinces. And for the high performance sports, this is what they're after.
Even Team Western Britain and Team Central yesterday, with 70 athletes coming on board, and with even the team managers and coaches be part of and seeing what we are doing on ground is very, very important. Carrying out the testings and talking to them, sharing some information with them, and possibly, as I've mentioned, in the evening we'll be with them carrying out our education session.
This is one of the few times that sporting talents from all over the country come together to compete against each other. And as much as possible, the higher performance sports hopes to achieve as much as they can from its teams.
Basically, we invited the teams, especially the athletes, to come on board if they were interested in going through all these performance testings. And from, like I've mentioned yesterday, by seeing the numbers, we have understand that as many teams, provincial teams, are very excited in having us on board, and also to understand more on high performance sports.
Any athletes who, I guess.
Karen Scribbers is a sports researcher from the James Cook University. He has assisted the high performance team to set up what's called an athlete map, where sporting talents can easily be located in the country.
But if we were to find any athletes who, I guess, tested really well for speed attributes, we'd know exactly where to go if we need athletes who have high levels of speed. So rather than trying to go all around the country to find them, we can, I guess, pinpoint the location more or less and hopefully create a giant talent map of Papua New Guinea.
With about 2 more weeks to go for the Games, the high performance sports team hopes to visit all participating provincial teams and, most importantly, to help them expose their strengths and weaknesses in sports and improve on it. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV Sports, Kimbe.
Here with Trukai Sports, Kumuls captain David Mead says he'll be back for the Kumuls in the next World Cup. That story when we come back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League PNG LNG Kumuls captain David Mead says he will be back for the next World Cup in 2021. His World Cup campaign was cut short 2 minutes into the quarter-final clash against England after catching a knock to his head.
Mead was disappointed he could not complete the match against England. He says he's tried to get over the match and move on and look forward to more rugby league matches for Papua New Guinea.
It was pretty hard to accept that first. It was hard to accept 4 or 5 hours after the game that I missed out on that quarter final, which is, as a player you don't really want to wish anyone to miss any games, but as we said, that stuff happens in rugby league, so you've got to learn to accept it pretty fast, or you'll be frustrated for a long time. So now I've learned to accept it yesterday and move on from it.
Though he copped a knock to the head, he still remembers how the incident occurred.
Just remember coming across to cover the tackle, and as I pointed Justin to take the winger, the halfback changed direction, and it kind of just surprised me a little bit. And obviously got my head in the wrong spot, and concussed for a split second, and then I thought I could have kept playing, but obviously the review didn't look too good, and the doctors upstairs said it wasn't fit enough to go back on. So
an unforgettable experience for the captain as he watched from the sideline during their last match against England. He says if he's still in form, he would like to lead the Kumuls in another World Cup.
Yeah, I'm still feel pretty young, so hopefully I'll still be around. 29, so I'll be 33 on the next one, so hopefully I'm still playing well by then. But yeah, obviously disappointed with how my World Cup campaign ended down there. It was obviously very frustrating, sitting on the sideline and watching.
Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
And PNG LNG Kumuls coach Michael Maram says Papua New Guinea players need more NRL and Super League experience. There are only a few PNG players playing in these high-level competitions. Maram says if many of our players can get exposed to playing in the NRL and Super League, this would boost the Kumuls' performance into the future.
The boys are out there already with a few clubs, the feeders, but they need to do the hard work to get into those top sides, top 25, and be playing week in, week out. And that's probably what Fiji and Tonga, Samoa are doing well now. So, and all the players are picked from those that top competition in NRL. So if you can have, moving forward, if you can have set a goal for 10 players playing NRL next 5 years, full time, with average 50 games per game, per player, be good for us.
And that's a wrap for Trukai Sports. Don't forget we have today's highlights from the BSP PNG games in Kimbe. You can catch that at 8:30 p.m. this evening. But don't go away. We'll be back with the weather forecast for the next 24 hours after these messages.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. We begin in the southern region. A shower or two expected in Popondetta. Mostly fine for Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema and Alotau. To the Momasi region, showers expected in Lae and Wau. Evening showers in Madang. Showers and thunderstorms for Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, brief showers expected in Lorengau, Kavieng and Kimbe. A few showers as well in Kokopo and Rabaul. Showers and thunderstorms for Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect evening showers with morning fog.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Wednesday, the 22nd of November, 2017. On behalf of the MTV News team here and our hardworking colleagues in Kimbe, it's bye for now.